One. Let's go.
Let's go. It's going to be a crazy episode. Here on episode 24 of the Block to Block podcast, the best podcast in the world for all things Web3. Here we break down the technology, what's going on in the market, and the ways in which you can benefit. I am NFT and Jai.
And I am Web3 Wayne.
And over here, the talk is different. And we got a special guest, our boy, Sean of the Seven Streams.
Hey.
Back with another one.
Yes, sir.
But before we
yes,
get
sir.
into that, Web3 Wayne, you know what time it is.
Oh, dang. I almost forgot that we are not responsible if you dumb enough to lose your money. That is on you. We are not responsible for you losing your cheese, cheddar, mozzarella, provolone. That is not on us. So make sure you consult a financial advisor or any other professional that can help you with your finances, because don't come looking to us if you lose your money. And with that, now that's out the way, let's get into it, fellas.
Let's get into it. We got our boy Sean of the Seven Streams back with us, the best developer in Web3. I'm calling him that. You should call him that too. And he's going to bless us this month with a new segment of the show that we're going to bring out every once in a while called the Developer Skills Course. So with that, Sean, any special words?
No, I think that's a great way to kick it off and ready to get started.
Great. So I'm going to share your presentation on my screen. And let's go into slideshow mode.
Yeah. So this will be an introduction to this series, just a high-level overview of how to break into the industry and get started becoming a Web3 developer. All right, so diving right into it, what are Web3 apps, better known as dApps in the industry currently? They're decentralized applications that utilize blockchain technology to create secure, transparent, and tamper-proof transactions within the application. There have been quite a few popular options like Axie Infinity, started off with CryptoKitties, and ever since then, people have just been making different apps utilizing blockchain technology, which is what we're going to learn about how to do today. So the skills required or needed to start building Web3 apps, web development, you need to have some knowledge of how the web works and how to build web pages using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Utilizing these technologies in particular, you'll want to learn about networking and just how the document object model works for building out a website in the first place. You'll also need some programming fundamentals, so you'd need to pick up a programming language in order to get familiarized with not just the syntax, but just how programming works in general. So some of the good starter ones for getting into Web3 in particular would be Solidity, JavaScript, and Python. You'll also need to have an understanding of how blockchain technology works in general. And from there, you'll also need knowledge of Ethereum or an alternative network in order to understand what you're doing building out these apps. Ethereum just happens to be the most popular one when it comes to building out mobile or Web3 applications. And lastly, not lastly, you'll need knowledge and familiarity of tools like VS Code or Remix for an IDE, Truffle Suite, and Web3.js. Truffle Suite is a tool suite for building, compiling, and migrating and deploying smart contracts. You'll also need, which is very pivotal, understanding of security best practices and how to prevent vulnerabilities. So when you are making these apps, they're not subject to being hacked. So starting off on the journey to build out a Web3 app or a dApp, you really will need to get familiarized with the basics of Web 2. Again, you'll need to understand routing, networking, and the building blocks for building a website and allowing the user to interact with the interface. Then you'll need to spend some time learning about blockchain and Ethereum or other similar networks, Polygon, Avalanche, etc. To get started, you need to have an understanding of these technologies and how they operate. This includes understanding how smart contracts are written and what they do, and the ins and outs and the details of the network itself that you're choosing to build on. It's probably best when you're starting off to just choose one and stick with it so that you get very familiarized with it and then learn another one from there, similar to learning a programming language. Solidity would be the best next step because that's what many people will use to write out the smart contract logic and create the smart contracts themselves. Typically, especially on Ethereum. So good ways to start learning Solidity would be to take an online course. There are plenty of online courses out there. Read books such as Mastering Ethereum or The Basics of Bitcoin and Blockchain. Both these books also walk through how Solidity works and give a good understanding and foundation of Solidity. Another option is just to get out there and practice. Even if you don't know anything, start trying out the little bit that you do learn, and as you make your failures along the way, you'll learn from that. Other options are join or build your own community around building Web3 apps so that you can learn from other peers in the industry. And probably one of the best ways is to contribute to open source projects, because that can be a great way to get real world experience and learn from other developers. You can improve an existing open source project, fix bugs, or add features that you think would be best by opening pull requests in their repository. And the other developers that maintain it would review and approve or deny a pull request depending on whether the code is good to integrate. Another part of the journey would be learning Truffle and Web3 JS. I already talked earlier about how Truffle is a development framework for Ethereum to develop and deploy smart contracts. It'll really help you with your local development environment, testing out the smart contract logic that you're writing for whatever app purposes that you're working on. And Web3.js allows you to interact with the Ethereum network and wallets that are connected to the network for the purposes of the transactions needed for the app that you're building.
Sean, right quick, what is Truffle similar to in the Web 2 world? If you give the people a little bit of relatable source, if you will.
Yeah, I guess the best thing I can relate it to is a framework, even though Truffle isn't really a framework. Regular Web 2 framework, though, does give you some out the box logic to help you structure your project. It'll help you start building and testing out your project as well. So, in a sense, it does accomplish some of those goals of a framework.
Okay. Beautiful.
Yeah. And lastly, once you've gone through this journey and educated yourself on all these topics, it's time for you to get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves, and just get to work. You can start building your first application with this knowledge that you've gained. Start small or simple with a voting or lottery app or just anything that might pique your interest, and gradually get into more complex projects. But the best way to learn, at least from what I believe, is firsthand experience, just learning from your downfalls, your success as well. And just building projects is probably the most interesting thing as well, in my opinion, since you have something that you can physically show somebody that you created. And that's all. Any questions there?
Yeah, like first of all, kudos to you. Always great whenever you come onto the platform and just bless us with your knowledge set. Just like for somebody who's starting out and as you mentioned, like joining these communities, doing the research, trying to build your own dApp, like for somebody who's trying to build their own dApp, like how should they start? Like, should you be trying to solve some kind of huge problem or just starting with like a passion project? Like, what would you recommend?
I mean, I would recommend building a simple game where, like, honestly, the game mechanics don't matter. The important part is focusing on the transactions. Being
Mhm.
able to just create digital playing cards, for instance. If you're building your own version of Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon, you can,
Or a poop racing game.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
There's lots of creative ways to do that with the poop racing game, for example. There could be rewards for winning the race, and or maybe there's you're placing bets on how the race goes, plays out. So there's plenty of options. It's just really just gotta try
Yeah.
something out once you have an idea,
Leave it
or
to
try to replicate them that exists.
I'm about to say leave it to Sean and Seven Streams to influence our audience to gamble. We are not in at all encouraging gambling, but if you do make that game, let us know.
Man, well, we know you have to hop off, but where can the people find you if they have any questions and want to reach out?
At Sean of the Seven Streams, I guess, on Instagram.
Hey,
Uh, I'll put some more info together for the next time on the show.
most definitely, most definitely. Powerful segment, 10 minutes of straight fire. We appreciate you, Sean, the Seven Streams. Have a great evening.
All right, take care, y'all.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Fire. He was
Fire.
he was
Look,
as
yes, sir. Get this game, and I'm getting out. I'm gonna give you this game, and I'm gonna get out. We love to
man.
see
He might have been quicker than a quick take. I don't know.
it. He might be, but what I will say is, he got me thinking about venturing off into becoming a blockchain developer and getting into that game. For those of y'all that don't know, been working with Sean the past 2 to 3 months building our platform Timbucktoo. And it's been a great journey working with him. Again, my background is in product management, and so it's been a lot of me learning from him. Just kind of watching him build a little bit, helping where I can, putting in my 2 cents. But also, I come with him. I'm doing a lot of reading, and then I come to him and throw out these crazy ideas, and I'm like, can we do this? I know we can do this, right? We can do this. And he's like, all right, slow your roll. Let's talk through this. So it was dope hearing his perspective on kind of how he's gotten started in Web3. Can I say this? He when he started with us, he actually came with little Web3 experience, but a lot of coding experience. So it's been, a journey, both of us learning together on how to develop a Web3 app. He's, man, very quickly picked up on, what he needs to do. If you're a developer right now and you want to understand how to break into Web3, Sean the Seven Streams will take you to the promised land. Don't feel like you're late in the game. I remember talking to very recently somebody that's in marketing in Web3, and this person was saying that they've been at their company for 8 months now, and they're like the longest tenured person at their company. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those industries where you know get in. I mean, you can still get in now, and it's still early, right? It feels again. You've said this before. It feels like it could be, you're getting late to the game because of everything that's happened with Bitcoin, crypto, and yada yada yada. But still very early, so get into it.
Yeah, most definitely get into it. And for those with skills in coding, or what if it's a lot or even a little bit, one recommendation to really get into this game is to work with those teams who are trying to build out projects, right? Like, so for example, us with Sean, we know Sean for many years now and knew he had a great skill set in development. And so for our project Timbucktoo, we reached out to him, and he's learned a lot and has added tremendous value so far. So that's really a cheat code for those of you out there who want to become developers in this space. Like, as Sean mentioned, do your due diligence, learn, do your reading, join these communities, but push yourself and work with like those early stage project or teams who are just willing to build with you.
That's a great point. Great point. For sure. For
But,
sure.
man, but with that, we got to get back to what the people came for. They love getting our insight of what's going on in the world of Web3. And so, Web3 Wayne, you know what you must do.
Oh man. He is putting the spotlight on me. We are coming in hot with the quick take today.
Woo-wee!
We like to keep y'all guessing on how these segments are gonna be organized, but we're gonna kick it off with the quick take today. And for our quick take, we want to talk about addressable. What is addressable, you may ask? Well, $7.5 million says that addressable is a company that is going to help scale user acquisition for Web3 companies. Yes, they've raised a $7.5 million seed round. And what is addressable? It is an end-to-end solution for Web3 marketing. And it is understand that this round that they've raised will help accelerate the expansion of the company's platform, including additional blockchains and social media integrations, which is huge, huge, huge on the Web3 front, especially for us that are trying to continuously understand from a business perspective, how does this Web3 thing fit into what we're doing as a business? How can it be more beneficial? Right. And Dr. Asaf Nadler, who is co-founder and chief scientist at Addressable, he stated that in the face of anonymity, try saying that 5 times, our solution allows Web3 marketers to associate anonymous blockchain audiences with social media activity, ultimately addressing the most significant barrier to Web3 growth today. Right. And we've seen that there's a couple things here, right? We've seen social media activity from the Web3 world, right? We know a lot of communities have formed on Twitter. You see a lot of people who are community leaders within Web3, who are just, a part of that community. Social media is really that driving force for that activity. Of course, there's the discords and some of these other platforms when it comes to communication that have also been influential. And so what Addressable is doing is they're trying to, really move past this anonymous Web3 world where we can now say, hey, who this is that's, you know, on this blockchain, right? And we've had some similar discussions with a few small business people around the questions again, how does Web3 help their company, right? How does Web3 help your company? And this is where we see the first glimpses of it with Addressable, right? And one of the big things that you see here is that with Addressable, you can have an even more direct customer targeting tool, right? Or through this tool by being able to understand transaction patterns, right? Not just attaching cookies to a site in hopes that this person will buy your product. So if you don't understand how Web2 marketing works right now, the big thing is, especially when you talk about your Facebook and your Instagram, even your Google, right? What they do is you go to a website, you look at something, and they pretty much track that you've looked at that product, right? So
Mm.
they're going to try to continuously put that product in your face. That's a lot of how the marketing goes. Or right, you create some uh demographic, our customer target group, and then they'll put out the ads based on that, right? And we'll probably still see that happen, right? But now you add in the extra element of understanding their transaction patterns, right? So you understand the people who actually buy the product that you're looking to sell. It may not be specifically your product, but maybe it's other products, right? Maybe you sell high class, white tall tees. You know what I'm
Crispy
saying?
white tees.
Crispy. You know those people who are buying those, they gonna buy the Jabos. And for the purposes, you're selling Jaboskis. That's your brand, Jaboski. They're gonna buy that. So it has this extra element. It allows for people to have a better target and a better direct to consumer marketing strategy. And this is big. This is something when it comes to Web3 that like we said, people have been looking at and people have been thinking about, and we're starting to see the first glimpses of this come to light. I'll end off with something from their CEO, Tomer Sharoni. That is a great name. And I hope I said it right. If not, Tomer, we'd love to have you on the podcast. Let us know. But Tomer said, we're witnessing an increasing number of Web3 companies investing in meaningful and sustainable user growth through social media, where almost all users spend their time. So that is another piece. If you are a business looking at how do I, break into Web3? How do I use Web3? How is this incorporated? A couple things to look at. Some things don't change. Social media, number one. Number two, look into Addressable. Look into what they're bringing to the table, ways you may be able to work with it. And, number three, look for other companies that may be able to help you slowly merge into this Web3 world, like the team over at Timbucktoo. We're always going to shamelessly plug our platform. And with that, that's the quick take for the day.
I love it. I love it. And this whole segment is a great callback to what we said in previous episodes, whether it's Jay who talked about building within the metaverse, or just even some of our insight that we've had as we've been discussing this for the past 24 weeks, every
Lit.
week, block to block.
Lit.
It's this notion that, yes, Web3 is new. Yes, the technology is new. Yes, how we may think about interacting with communities and consumers is probably going to change. However, the needs are always going to be prevalent. Some of those needs being brands having the ability to effectively communicate and effectively know their target audience, their customer, so they can better serve them. And that's what's really interesting about Addressable, right? Like, is quite funny because really with the advent of crypto technology in particular, one of the big benefits was being anonymous with just your activity. However, this is kind of being turned on its head in a way in which the opposite effect could happen, in which we can see exactly what you're transacting and make an even more in-depth customer profile or identity map and better interact and market to you. So it's very, very fascinating stuff. And it's important that we understand how this technology is intended to be used and how it can be used and how it is being used as we continue to transcend into this new era of technology.
No, that is very greatly put, and that's a great point to bring in is, this is also, we've talked about this as well, that, there are the people who are talking about the ability for it to be anonymous and this era of privacy. But of course it could always go the opposite way as well. And we're seeing that too. So that is a great point about this story. Something that the people need to know, and that the people know we're gonna keep it real with them. The people know that. People know that.
We're the realest. I'm just saying, so real that you if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, comment, subscribe, and share with your loved ones. Or If you're listening to this on any major audio platforms such as Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, please give us that 5-star review
Yes.
and subscribe and share with your loved ones.
Yes.
Every week we're here to give this Web3 game.
It's weekly because we love y'all. Mama do. Let the people know what's going on in this AI world. I thought that was a Web3 podcast. Hold on. What's going on here?
Listen, if anything, technology is interconnected. Nothing exists really in a silo. Like these big themes that you see in the news are going to be all tied together. So over the last few years, since like I would probably say around like 2017, 2018, we've been seeing Web3 tech be really big in the news, from like crypto to last year being NFTs. And now the new kid on the block, quote unquote, new, is artificial intelligence, AI. We've been seeing these stories about ChatGPT, which is a AI technology created by OpenAI, where you're able to type in different inquiries or requests, and it's ChatGPT is able to like do these great responses where they will type out like conversations or give you answers or create content, right? And now we're seeing this in the world of Web3 because Polygon is partnering with Alethea AI to launch CharacterGPT, an AI-powered NFT project that describes itself as the world's first multimodal AI system. So what does it do, right? So let's take a step back. OpenAI AI, they're known for ChatGPT, and they're known for DALL-E. DALL-E being an image generator. So you may type in something like, show me Elon Musk working at McDonald's, and DALL-E could, create this art image, in which it does it within a few seconds. Polygon is launched in CharacterGPT, which is really the next level. What it does is a user like you and I can type in text, and it creates a responsive character who has a unique personality, identity, trait, voice, and body. So you can type in something like, create for me a barista at a coffee company. And what CharacterGPT would do is create this character. They'll create this image of a barista, based upon the description that you put in, who's able to communicate and interact with you. And the step in which the Web3 component comes into play with Polygon's partnership is you can then mint that character into an NFT on their platform called mycharacter.ai. And so very, very fascinating stuff in which we're seeing this combination of AI technology and Web3 technology coming into one to create new solutions. And I want to end off with some quotes from Sandeep Naliwal, who is the co-founder of Polygon, where he has said that generative AI is advancing at a rapid rate and it has the potential to profoundly impact our lives in coming years. I have seen firsthand how Alethea AI has developed this technology over the last few years through their CharacterGPT AI engine, and where users will be able to create interactive characters in a matter of seconds. So super powerful stuff. And really the big takeaways for all of us is this technology is revolutionary, but it can also be scary if you're, not aware and you don't know how to utilize it, right? Because essentially you're able to like create digital people who could interact through a sophisticated AI powered manner, right? So the opportunities are endless for those who may have a digital component to your store, like an e-commerce store or what have you. In theory, you could use this CharacterGPT tool to create an interactive digital persona, like somebody who may seem like a real person that you're speaking with, right? Like if somebody has a video call, what have you, but instead it's this AI powered character that's able to handle many inquiries and give you more time to do other things within your adventure, right? It's super powerful. There's so many possibilities. And what's really cool is the NFT portion, right? Because remember, these NFTs really just serve as digital certificates of ownership. And one big, I won't call it critique, but one big caution, if you will, with like these AI platforms like a Chat GPT or whatever AI generative program out there, is this idea of ownership, right? Like you may be able to create these solutions, whatever it's like copyright or art or interactive characters, but you know, depending on what the terms of use may say, you may not have the ability to license it, right? So it's very interesting to see this Polygon component, because if you're able to create this AI powered person with character GPT and then mint them as an NFT, in theory, you own it. So you can do whatever you want with this character, whether it's maybe making a parody account if you're a content creator on like YouTube or what have you, or any other sketch comedy show, or whatever it's creating an employee within your venture. There's so many possibilities here.
Yeah.
And what I encourage you all, the viewer, to do is get over the heebie jeebies, right? Because it is kind of like, oh, snap, this is crazy. But we got to understand like this technology is here to stay. AI has been worked on for many, many, many years. And now it's getting to the point, like once it hits the media cycle and it's starting to become like a no more everyday occurrence, that's when you know the tech has finally got to a point where it's here to stay. So let's use this as an opportunity to find different solutions that we can utilize for our own respective lives. And that's what I gotta say. Character GPT, like it's the new kid on the block.
That's heavy. That's heavy. That's fire. That's fire. I mean, a couple things come to mind with that, right? We had an episode on the metaverse, right? Just thinking about people who, you know, may start metaverse shops and things like that. And you're thinking about your customer service in your metaverse shop, who's gonna be in there. You know, you can just create people through character GPT that gives real experiences to you know the people, your patrons, right? People that patronize your shop in the metaverse. Or
Yeah.
I'll even take it a step further, because I forget when this was, but I was looking a lot into augmented reality. I believe it was in college. Or I had a friend who was thinking about augmented reality, especially when it comes to trying on clothes,
Yeah.
right? They have these mirrors, these like digital augmented reality mirrors that can help you kind of try on different clothes, and then based on how they fit in this augmented way, right, in the mirror, you can say, all right, I want to buy this, right? I'm thinking about, you know, what if those AI generated characters, right, are now your store workers, quote unquote, in this augmented reality type world, this mixed reality world where, you know, you're able to provide top notch service with your, let's say you're on the Amazon store, or, you know, your Instagram store is powered by this. You're able to deliver a top notch service experience for your customer through this AI. I mean, there's so many ways that it can be used, you know, before it gets to the point of, you know, I robot, we need to save humanity. Like, I think that's something that is, you know, of course we need to be cautious about those things, but it's more or less fantasy, right? It's more or less, you know, this is something that we just need to keep a pulse on. It's another reason for you
Yeah.
to just know what's going on, is to keep a pulse on it. But I think, you know, much like 1984, the book, if you've never read it or don't know what I'm talking about, book about surveillance state, you know, it's much more about, you know, us being ahead of what's going on, making sure that we understand, you know, how technologies can be used. And, you know, as we always stress, you know, protect ourselves, you know, make sure we're being a part of instead of being affected by.
Exactly. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And I'm just thinking, like, for those who own businesses, just think about the amount of time and effort and stress you save yourself, especially when you want to create these, parallel digital experiences, whether it's in the metaverse. Like, yeah, like perhaps you have a clothing store and you make a metaverse equivalent, and now you own these characters from Character GPT, and they're working your store and they can do dope stuff like help not only like advise your customers on like different styles, but like talk about like measurements, like, oh, you want to make sure you get this kind of measurement for your attire, right? Like it's just so many
Yeah.
possibilities. We're just
Or
barely scratching the surface.
I'm about to say, or we talked about in the metaverse episode, we talked about the concert,
Mm-hmm.
right? The metaverse concert. You can have them at not just one metaverse concert, they can be at all the metaverse concerts all at the same time because they're just generated characters, right?
Man, it's so
It's
crazy. Yesterday I was just playing around in chat GPT, right? I was asking different questions to see, like, can you write Web3 content? Can you code? It can code, it can write articles. I have it write songs too, right?
what
Right. And like
what
Afrobeat song, they wrote an Afrobeat song. They wrote a Drake rap. It was crazy. I was just goofing around at one point. But I'm like, imagine being able to get that kind of, like, talking about like the metaverse play that Jay gave us, right?
Yep.
Like having somebody, like a chat GPT or whatever platform create like song content, like the lyrics at least. And then you have your character GPT character who is like a musician that you make, right? And they're able to make like fire performances, and you have this concert in the metaverse. And to Jay's point, in the real world with a stadium, you may have a capacity at like 10,000, 20,000, but in the metaverse, there's no capacity. And people are just coming in and like enjoying this musical performance by a character that you created and own because you made it an NFT. Like, man, the different
Crazy.
plays.
Man, that's crazy. It's a whole new world. That's the crazy part is like it's almost like too much opportunity where it's like I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of nervous. I know I shouldn't be because we over here talking about it, but like I'm kind of nervous because it's too much opportunity out here, and it's just like does this getting there way too deep, but does this like widen the gap even further? Like, what do they need a future for? They can create it from a couple lines, putting in a couple sentences, and they have a
Mm-hmm.
whole artist that
I mean,
can
wasn't
work.
that wasn't that a rollout? Remember that AI little robot, rapper robot thingy that they was
Yeah,
trying to, you know,
yeah. That was out here.
why should I get, respectfully, a rapper who, as we know, rappers are at a high risk of mortality, like the street violence and whatnot. Why should we risk ourselves, or just even being controversial? Like they say something wild or do something wild and lose sponsorship deals for you as a record label.
Just
Like
being human in general.
just being human, right? Like
Like,
a human who just became worship as a celebrity and gets all these millions of dollars, when you can just create your own character GGP, own it as the NFT, you have whatever IP protection rights as the owner of that, and you can just monetize with your own musical group,
right.
rapper, country, Afro beats, whatever.
Country Afro beats rapper. Who knows? Who
Right.
knows? Possibilities are endless.
Possibilities are endless. So that's why it's very important to watch every episode of Block to Block, because we're having these riveting and fruitful conversations, these dialogues, in order to really prepare us for this new wave of technology, because it's all about the ways in which we can benefit.
Yes, yes, yes. The Web3, the free game Web3 game for the day is getting to blockchain development. We had Sean 7 Streams give you that lovely game today. Make sure you take that, you apply it, You step out there on a little bit of faith and curiosity and get into this Web3 world as a developer. If you have experience in development and developing, you got a leg up. Just take that extra step. If you are not experienced in developing, don't be afraid. I think Sean gave some great points of just get out and just start doing it. That's the best way you can learn. And I love what he said about learning from failures. I think that's something that you can, take from this, even if you're not a developer and you just want to get into this space. Do not be afraid to fail. We are failing just about every day. And, I think most of our fun comes from failing. I think most of our successes come from failing. It makes you appreciate those little wins so much more. So that'll be the free game Web3 game for the day.
Absolutely. I love the message. Remember, the only L's you take in life are lessons.
I ain't got nothing to say after
For
that.
those who may be listening, Derek is just nodding his head like, So,
Riveting. Riveting.
riveting discussion. Man, this has been a powerful episode, man.
Yeah.
Super powerful.
Yeah.
I have nothing else left to say besides please make sure to tune in same time next week. We're here every Thursday. We don't miss a Thursday. I am NFT and Jai.
And I am Web3 Wayne.
Peace.